morning, 7th grade. Welcome to day 3 of week 6. Today is April 29th. I'm going to take you through what you are responsible for today. If you watch this video, I think you'll be very prepared for what you need to complete. And please remember that tomorrow you are taking your assessment. You can expect it to be a 20-question multiple choice Google form on proportional relationships. One of the assignments today is a review sheet, so I think that would be helpful for you to complete and use as a reference for what you can expect on the exam tomorrow. Okay, I also posted to the stream a few links. I know a few of you had asked me if there was anything that you can review to study, so here are some links, and then I also gave you a few pointers for the evidence that you are taking today. Okay, so I'm going to go to our classwork for today. You're going to see that there is a review sheet for you to complete. It's 10 questions. They're all multiple choice and they were created off of the exam. So you will answer the questions. On every question, whether you get it right or wrong, there is feedback provided so that you know why you got the question correct or why you might have got it incorrect, and the correct process to correct your mistakes if you do get the question incorrect. Okay, so I just want you guys to be mindful of that. Like, I'll show you if I click hold on, let me see. If I click here, I will show you that for every question we have provided feedback so that you know the correct process and strategy for each question. Okay, so just make sure you take a look at that. Don't just ignore it. It's there for you. I would probably, if I was expecting a test tomorrow, while I was taking this review sheet, I would maybe copy down the questions, write down what answer I got, and then be mindful of whether I got it right or wrong. If I got it right, then I can expect to do very well on those questions tomorrow. If I got it wrong, then I would maybe explore a little bit more how to correct my mistakes. Okay? After you do your review sheet, you have your evidence of student mastery today. So that is going to be a Google form as well. 4 questions. It does count as an assessment towards your grade, so it will be marked out of 100. So every question is worth 25 points. So it's extremely important that you try your best, you take your time, and you check all of your work. So I'm going to give you a quick review for that evidence. If you're watching this, I think you'll be in really good shape to take that evidence when we are done. Okay, because I'm guiding you through 4 questions that are very similar to what you will see on today's evidence. So the first question, you're going to be given a table, and they're going to ask you, is the table proportional or not? So to determine if a table is proportional, you can do one of 2 things. First thing you would do is look to see if there is a constant. So I'm going to go to my y's. From 3 to 4, I see that we're changing by +1. From 4 to 6, I see we're changing by +2. And then from 6 to 8, we're changing by +2. So this 1 at the top is throwing me off, but I need to make sure that it's also not constant on the other side. So let's see. So from 2 to 4, it would be +2. From 4 to 6, it would be +2. And from 6 to 8, it would be +2. So because this first one doesn't follow the constant like the rest of the table, then this is not proportional. And why is it not proportional? It's not proportional because, that's because, B/C, does not have a constant, and the table would not include 0, 0. Okay, if I went backwards with my data, this would be 0, but if I reversed my +1, this would give me 2. We can't have that in a table. It would have to be 0, 0. So also does not have a constant and no 0, 0. Okay, so that's similar to the first question you're going to see on your assessment. You're going to be given a table. They're going to ask you, is it proportional or not? I would suggest looking for that constant. I think it's going to be obvious to see if there is one or not. If there is not, it is not proportional. If there is, check to make sure that 0, 0 is there, and then you can say that, yes, it's proportional. Okay? All right. Second question, they're going to tell you in the question that the table is proportional. So they want you to write the equation that this table represents. So to write the equation, you're going to look for the constant. The constant is going to be the change in y, which I notice is plus 10, over the change in x, which I notice is plus 1. So my constant for this table is going to be 10 over 1. So I'm going to write that here. K equals 10 over 1. And in my equation, it would be y equals 10 over 1x, or just y equals 10x. Okay, so there is number 2. Number 2, they're going to give you a proportional table. They're going to ask you for the equation. So the way you do that is you find the change in y over the change in x. The change in y was plus 10 for this table. The change in x was plus 1 for this table. So for our constant k, it would be 10 over 1. And then in my equation, I replace k with that value. So it would be y equals 10 over 1x as my final answer. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, they're going to give you a graph and they're going to ask you, is the graph proportional? So you need to remember what 2 things you look for to know if a graph is proportional. And those 2 things are going to be whether or not it is linear and whether or not it goes through the origin. They need to both be satisfied. So looking at this graph, I would say, yes, it's linear. Why is this graph linear? Because it is a straight line. So that's one check. It can't be the only check. The other reason is because it goes through the origin. You have to make sure you say both. So this graph is proportional. Why? Because it is linear and includes 0, 0, the origin. Okay? If you don't click both, it's not going to accept full credit for that answer. So if your graph is proportional, these are the 2 reasons why. Okay? And then our last question is a word problem, but you're still using our same understanding of constants. So it says, it might say something like this. It doesn't necessarily use these numbers, but similar type of problem. It cost you $186.75 for 15 shirts. Write an equation in y equals kx to model this. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is by using unit rate, our understanding of unit rate. So I'm just going to grab my calculator. And our constant, what we know so far, is that for, I'm going to write here, $186.75, we can buy 15 shirts. So I want to simplify this to figure out what that unit rate is. And what we are doing is finding our constant to then plug in for our equation. So if you guys did the solve sheet yesterday, this is very similar to the problem where you figured out how much money was the 20-ounce bag. The unit rate would have been 0.45, which a lot of you figured out, and the equation could have been y equals 0.45x. So when you get problems like this, you're going to take the amount, divide it by the total of whatever the items is that you're referring to. That's going to be your constant. So I'm going to do that division here. We have, let me clear my screen, 186.75 divided by 15. Oops, put an extra. Okay, and we're going to get 12.45. So it would cost us 12.45 for every 1 shirt. And now this is my constant I'm going to use in my equation. So my equation is going to always be y equals my constant and then the letter x, because the x always follows the constant. You need to make sure you put that x after your constant in every equation you write. Okay, so going back, they gave you the word problem, they gave you an amount of money for an amount of shirts. To write the equation in y equals kx, we simply found the unit rate. That unit rate is our constant, and we plugged it in for k for our equation. Okay, so you had the first question, is the table proportional? See if it has a constant. If it doesn't, then it is not proportional. If it does not include 0, 0, it is also not proportional. The second question, they wanted you to find the equation given a proportional table. So we found the change in y was plus 10, the change in x was plus 1, so our constant was 10 over 1, and our equation would be y equals 10 over 1x. The third question gave you a graph. They wanted to know if it was proportional or not. This one was, because of the two reasons that it is linear and includes 0, 0. And the fourth question was your word problem, where they gave you a certain amount that it cost for a certain amount of shirts. We used that information to find our unit rate or our constant, and then we plug that into our equation for our final answer. Okay, I hope this helped. I literally walked through every question that you will see on your evidence, kind of just with different numbers. If you watch this video today, I think you'll be in really good shape to do well on this evidence, and then just continue to review for your assessment tomorrow. Okay, stay safe, 7th grade.